Hey folks, welcome to Poetry Lockdown. We're up to day 78. I've talked before about on this lockdown series, just thinking about not only poetry just as a reader, but poetry as a writer. In the midst of traumatic events, a lot of poets, when they're trying to document that or record that in their poetry, have really leaned into form. And there's a poet I really admire, Patricia Smith, and she's actually using a form that Dante used, terza rima. And this poem I feel like really speaks to this moment. I was really moved by it, so I'm sharing it with you today. She says about this poem, after the unrest in Ferguson, Missouri, following the murder of Michael Brown, I heard many versions of the sentiment, quote, "It's so stupid for them to burn down their own neighborhoods," end quote. I thought back on my own first neighborhood in Chicago, torched to its bones after the King assassination, and how everything before and after that moment smelled on the verge of ignition. I wanted to explore the ways our streets, our homes, and our bodies strain toward fire. So that's an introduction that sets up the context for this poem. Incendiary Art by Patricia Smith. The city's streets are densely shelved with rows of salt and packaged hair. Intent on air, the funk of crave and function comes to blows with any smell that isn't oil. The blare of storefront chicken settles on the skin, and mango spritzing drips from razored hair. The corner chef's cube pork. Decide again on cayenne, fry in grease that's glopped with dust. The sizzle of the feast adds to the din of children, strutting slant their wanderlust and cussing, plus the loud and tactless hiss of dogged hustlers bellowing past gusts of peppered breeze, that fatty fragrant bliss in skillets. All our rampant hunger tricks us into thinking we can dare dismiss the thing men do to boulevards, the wicks their bodies be. A city, strapped for art, delights in torching them. At first for kicks, to waltz to whirling sparks, but soon those hearts thud thinner, whittled by the chomp of heat, outlined in chalk, men blacken, curl apart. Their blindly rising fume is bitter-sweet, although reversals in the air could fool us into thinking they weren't meant as meat. Our suns don't burn their cities as a rule, born as they are up to their necks in fuel. This is a powerful poem that you deserve to listen to the poet herself reading. So after I finish recording this, I'm going to link you to Patricia Smith reading this poem, which is part of a book that really treats this topic beautifully and powerfully. So I said this is written in terza rima, which is really a form that I believe Dante invented when he wrote the Divine Comedy. And you can see if you look at the first line rhymes with the third line, and then the second line in that tercet links up to the next stanza. So for me, what I feel as the turning point or shift of this poem is the moment where we start to see a city strapped for art delights in torching them, young men. At first for kicks, to waltz to whirling sparks, but soon those hearts thud thinner. And then we move to that astonishing and devastating couplet that closes. Our sons don't burn their cities as a rule, born as they are up to their necks in fuel. I don't really feel like I can do almost anything else except read poetry that has this kind of lament right now. And I would recommend you to hear Patricia Smith read it. She's way better than I am. Thank you, Patricia Smith, for this poem. Thank you all for listening.